Alright, so it's no secret that this was supposed to come out yesterday, but sleep is a cruel mistress and I really just didn't have a choice. So here it is. Also, something 90% not subscribed, you know, that thing. Subscribe, people. Alright, so Made in Heaven might be one of my most requested stand reviews of all time. And I think it's probably because every time I talk about Made in Heaven, I talk about how good it is. And it seems like a whole lot of the community for YBA thinks that Made in Heaven is garbage. And they're wrong. But you know, we'll get there. We just started, so I can't pull all my punches now. Anyways, before we start seriously, I do have two things I want to address really quick. First of all, as with my Sea Moon video, I managed to get a hold of Ball Pit, who's a fellow YBA YouTuber, and he helped me with getting footage for this video when we played 2v2s. He was getting footage for Silver Chariot, so look forward to that. His channel will be in the description. And the other thing is that I realized that I've been neglecting to mention how you actually unlock the stands that I'm using in these videos. And I feel like that's something I should probably be doing, considering that the whole purpose of these videos is to teach people things for the most part and help people learn. And it's kind of hard to learn how to use something if you don't know how to get it to begin with. So my apologies if you watched the Sea Moon video and you're like, I don't even know how to get Sea Moon. So this really just doesn't help me. If you were thinking that, I apologize. I'll go over how to get Made in Heaven in this video, and well, that's exactly what I'm gonna do right now. So the first thing that you're going to want to do to get Made in Heaven is to talk to Poochie at the castle after you've obtained Sea Moon. If you don't know how to obtain Sea Moon, basically you have to talk to him with Whitesnake and have a Dio diary in your inventory, and he'll tell you to go kill a bunch of NPCs. Once you talk to Poochie, he'll tell you that you need to get Dio's bone, and that in order to get Dio's bone, you'll have to befriend Jotaro. The camera will pan out and show you where to find Jotaro. After talking to Jotaro, he'll tell you that you need to get all 4 parts of the Saint's Corpse in order to access the dimension where you can fight Dio. You can obtain these corpse parts by either gambling in the arcade or winning steel ball runs. Upon obtaining all 4 corpse parts and talking to Jotaro again, he'll teleport you into the dimension where you can fight Heaven Ascended Dio. Heaven Ascended Dio is quite a difficult boss, especially if you're by yourself, and even more so if you're trying to use Sea Moon to fight him. Sea Moon is not a very good stand for fighting this boss, but it is very well possible, so you can give it a shot. It is also important to note that you don't have to do these bosses by yourself. If other people have the parts of the Saint's Corpse, they can teleport into the dimension and help you with the bosses. Some of the very easy and cheese way to beat these bosses includes taking their stand away with Whitesnake and healing your teammate in the back while they're barraging them with Crazy Diamond. If you do decide to take this boss on by yourself though, be warned, as it can be quite difficult. I mean, yeah, despite the fact that I've done this before, I did not get it done on my first go, and I died the exact same way 3 times in a row. Good job, me. It also should be noted that for some ungodly reason, the drop chance for Dio's bone when you kill Heaven Ascended Dio is not 100%. So if you kill him, and you get teleported out of the dimension and nothing happens, it means you didn't get the bone. Another thing to note is that you don't need to talk to Jotaro inside of the dimension to get the quest to kill him from him, as you'll still get the bone regardless of having that quest active or not. If you don't get the bone when killing Heaven Ascended Dio, my suggestion to you is to quit out and find another server, as the respawn time for him takes an absolute eternity and is not at all worth waiting around for. When RNG finally blesses you and you kill Heaven Ascended Dio and you get the bone when you teleport out of the dimension, you'll have to go back and talk to Poochie again. When you talk to Poochie, he'll thank you for getting Dio's bone, and he'll tell you now you need to take down Kujo. Then Uzu will tell you via the chat box about 50 times that the drop chance on Jotaro's disc when you kill him is low. Thanks, Uzu. Appreciate it. And then you have to go and take on Part 6 Jotaro. Part 6 Jotaro is a pain in the ass. In fact, I almost feel like this boss needs its own section, so I'm gonna give it its own section. Welcome to the Kujo section. Fight Kujo. Get beat down. Kill Kujo. No disc. Next server, fight Joe Kujo. Get beat down. Get beat down again and die. Get beat down again. Kill Joe Kujo. No disc. Next server, fight Joe Kujo. Get beat down. Die because you thought your counter was off cooldown. Get beat down. Kill Joe Kujo. No disc. Next server. Try to steal Joe Kujo from people who are farming him already to avoid getting beat down. Get beat down anyway. Successfully steal the kill from the other people. No disc. Next server. Fight Joe Kujo. Get beat down. Laugh at Joe Kujo for missing his beatdown. Die because you laughed at Joe Kujo for missing his beatdown. Get tired of getting beat down by Joe Kujo and lab out a 100% stun lock to make sure that he can never time stop or beat down ever again. Fun fact, if you run away from him, parry his Skull Crusher, use Uppercut to the Moon, throw him away, run away, parry his Skull Crusher, use Surface Inversion Punch and Zoom Punch or a Heavy Punch, run away, rinse repeat, he can never get you. Congratulations, Joe Kujo is now your bitch. Proceed to use this strategy to kill Joe Kujo without any trouble. No disc, no disc, no disc, no disc, and no disc. Also, did I mention no disc? Finally obtain Joe's disc by killing Joe Kujo and concluding the Joe Kujo section. Now that you've obtained Joe's disc, go back and talk to Poochie once more. When you talk to him, he'll tell you now that you've got all the things you need to go up to the tallest peak, which is located all the way behind the train station. When you get over there, eventually you'll get to a point where you can't get any further unless you have some sort of movement ability. Good thing that Seamoon has gravitational shift, or your journey would end here. Use gravitational shift to get up and follow the path I show here, as far as I'm aware, it's the only pathway to get up. Once you get to the top, fiddle with your graphics settings a bit so that you get a cleaner shot, and then summon your stand and watch the fireworks. Congratulations, you've now obtained Made in Heaven. Now that I spent probably way too long going over how you get Made in Heaven, I will talk about the moveset. As for moves, Made in Heaven has access to Speed Slice, which shoots you forward, breaks block, and knocks down. Heaven's Judgment, which flies you around like a crackhead, can be blocked, and does a pretty good amount of damage. Infinite Speed, which teleports you behind the opponent you're looking at and hits them, which can be parried but is unblockable. Knives, which are knives. Double XL, which makes you very, very fast, and your dashes become instant. And Time Acceleration, which makes you go even faster, as well as instantly putting Double XL off cooldown and your other moves, and severely reducing the cooldowns of said moves while Time Acceleration is active. It should be noted that Made in Heaven also has access to an ability called Universe Reset, which I personally don't use because it has a bug with it right now, which makes it so if you use it in 1v1s, 2v2s, or Steel Ball Run, there's a decent chance that you'll get stuck in the floor and start sliding around, or your opponents will suffer this fate, and it makes the game unplayable. You can avoid this fate most of the time by having your stand put away when the effects of Universe Reset wear off, as in when your skin goes back to normal, but you're also defenseless, so do this at your own risk. It also should be noted that you don't have any control over when this ability goes off, as it's consumed immediately upon activating Time Acceleration, and you can't choose whether to use it or not. But that's all I got for the moveset, so let's jump into strategies. Wait, stop. I went through this whole video and I just realized that I forgot to include the skill tree, and I know you guys are gonna ask for it, so here it is. Keep in mind with this specific skill tree that it's not even close to the best skill tree you can get, because I still had some stuff left over from Seamoon. I have mastered Sunlight Yellow Overdrive and, well, Sunlight Yellow Overdrive in general, which you definitely do not need. And I also have maxed out Hamon Duration, which you also don't really need. Removing both of those gives you some options when it comes to Time Acceleration and the knives, but I figured I should mention it. This skill tree works perfectly fine though, and it was the one I was using in the video. So it's obviously no secret that a whole lot of the people who have used this stand think that it's horrible, and that it sucks, and it needs buffs. It's everywhere, constantly. When I was streaming earlier this week, all I saw in the chat was, do you think Made in Heaven needs buffs? Do you think Made in Heaven needs time stop resistance? Do you think Made in Heaven should be able to do this, or that, or this? No, Made in Heaven does not need any buffs. Made in Heaven is already one of the strongest stands in the entire game, and that's exactly what I'm here to tell you, and why. The thing about Made in Heaven is that if you don't have a time stop, and you're in a 1v1 with him, you basically just lose. Almost every single time. Sure, you don't do very much damage. This is true. That's the argument everyone makes. But how much damage you do is irrelevant if your enemy can never hit you, but you can hit them. The reason Made in Heaven's moves don't do that much damage is because you can't be hit, and the moves have massive hitboxes that basically never miss. This means that you can just run circles around your opponent, use your moves when they're off cooldown, and chuck knives at them all the while so that they can't heal. This is an extremely powerful trait. And newsflash, the counter to this trait is time stop. So why everyone's asking for stuff like time stop resistance, I have no idea. Because then Made in Heaven would have quite literally zero counterplay. You would have no way of beating it if it had time stop resistance. There's a very good reason that when my gang and I are playing Steel Ball Run, when we have time stop stands, we always go after Made in Heavens first. Because if you don't, they fly around and you can't touch them. Made in Heaven's Achilles heel is getting time stopped. And if he didn't have that Achilles heel, then it would be completely unstoppable. Alright, so now that I've more or less covered exactly why Made in Heaven is so good and why everybody else is wrong, I'll also tell you a little quick tip. I think one of the big reasons that people struggle with Made in Heaven is that they don't go fast with Made in Heaven. I see all these Made in Heavens that aren't active with double XL or time acceleration. And I have a little secret for you. You can loop these abilities infinitely. This means that you're never slow and you are permanently fast. It's the biggest reason that Made in Heaven is completely busted. It should be noted that you absolutely have to max out double XL for this to work, but as far as I'm aware, you don't have to max out or even upgrade time acceleration at all. I'm pretty sure you can just use time acceleration 1, but I could be wrong. I'm fairly certain it works though, but like I said, don't quote me. Basically how this works is you start off with a double XL, you wait until it goes off of cooldown. You can start to learn these patterns of exactly when it will be off cooldown by playing with it. So make sure that you're out of the combat when it's about to run out. Use time acceleration, and then as soon as you use time acceleration, since it instantly puts double XL off of cooldown, use double XL immediately. The double XL cooldown will be drastically reduced because of the time acceleration, and then by the time your double XL runs out, you'll have another double XL. Use this double XL until it runs out, and when that double XL runs out, you can use time acceleration again. It's an infinite loop and makes you fast forever. By the way, if there are any moderators listening to this, you should not be able to do this, and it's nonsense. And I hope it gets patched out of the game, but I doubt it's going to. Maybe if more people start using it, it will, but who knows. So that's the whole double XL time acceleration thing, but what about the rest of your moves? Well, Speed Slice is a move that's all around great no matter what happens. And honestly, ideally, it doesn't hit. I know that's gonna sound weird, but you get more damage off of a block break than you do off of this move landing. It does quite little damage, and the bleed doesn't do a whole lot. But if you block break, then if you're using Haman, like I suggest you do, you can throw knives at them and zoom punch them, which does significantly more damage than it would just hitting the Speed Slice. If you do hit the Speed Slice though, you don't have too many options, seeing as unlike King Crimson's Impale, this is a normal knockdown, so they have invincibility when they stand up. What you can do, and I see a lot of people doing, and isn't a terrible idea, is to use Heaven's Judgment when people are on the ground, so when they get up, they get hit by it. If the opponent is buffering block when they stand up, they won't get hit by this, but a lot of people don't buffer block, so against worse players you can get away with this, but good players are likely going to block this and catch on within the second or third time of you doing this. Heaven's Judgment itself can be cancelled, and so can Speed Slice if you get hit, so you have to be careful when you're using them to not be too close to your opponent, as if you get hit, it'll be completely worthless and go on cooldown. As for your other move, Infinite Speed, this one is kinda bad, honestly. but it isn't all bad. People who know what they're doing will parry this move about as consistently as they'll parry Skull Crusher, which makes it sound completely worthless. Makes sense. But what a lot of people don't know about this game is that there's actually a parry buffer window, which means if you spam block and you get hit by a block break that you would normally have parried if you blocked at the right time, it won't parry and it will just block break you. This is in the game to make it so you can't just spam block in order to parry. What this means is if you throw knives at your opponent and they go to block them, you can follow it immediately with infinite speed and it's unparryable and free damage. Other than that, I would only ever use infinite speed if you think that the opponent isn't paying attention or they're bad and they won't parry it. Otherwise, just stay away from it. Now, I think the last thing that I need to cover for Made in Heaven when it comes to strategies is that this is one of the stands where clicks are still quite good, and that's mostly because if you have double XL active, your clicks and all the rest of your moves are fast as hell. This means that you can run up to people, click at them, and then force them to block, and block break them for free a lot of the time. It's one of the reasons that I highly recommend you use Scarlet Overdrive with Made in Heaven, because if you run up with double XL, punch them a few times, they block almost every time. You block break them, throw knives, zoom punch, free 50-ish damage. I don't see a lot of people making good use of Made in Heaven's clicks during double XL, and I think you should, because they're pretty good. And most stands don't really have any counterplay to this, because they're either getting stunned or they're trying to click you back, in which case you can just fly out of there since you're so fast. The bottom line here is that if you're in a 1v1 and you're fighting against someone who doesn't have a time stop, you could basically do whatever you want. And as long as you're not doing something so unbelievably stupid that you somehow manage to get yourself comboed, you can't lose. How many other stands in the game can say that if you don't have a time stop, you can't win? There's probably not very many. No, not probably. There's definitely not very many. Another pretty big plus to Made in Heaven is that it counters some of the most annoying stands in the game that don't have time stop, including Six Pistols and the Hand. Six Pistols can't get away, and his redirects are too slow to get you, and the Hand can never get close enough to swipe you, so you can just box him out since he doesn't have any projectiles. That, and if he ever even gets you with a swipe, you're so fast with double XL anyway, even if he takes your leg, you can still fly around like a jackass and he can't get you. Well, I think that's probably all I have for strategies to tell you. I might remember something later, and if I do and it's during me recording the conclusion, then maybe I'll come back and include it here, or just leave it there, we'll see. But regardless, let's move on to the conclusion. Alright, so the question of the day is, if I just explained to you exactly why Made in Heaven was so good in relatively extreme detail, why are there so many people that think it's bad? And the answer to that is actually really simple, and I think the second I say it, you'll say, oh, and start to understand. The reason that Made in Heaven is so underwhelming for so many people is because they added the World Over Heaven right alongside it, a stand that directly counters it. So people were directly comparing Made in Heaven and the World Over Heaven. And if you put these two in a fight, the World Over Heaven uses its stupid 9-second time stop and kills you in one shot. That doesn't seem very fair and would make you immediately assume, damn, Made in Heaven sucks. It gets absolutely demolished by the new stand. It's not even close. I think what's probably going on here is that a lot of the people that are saying this sucks haven't actually used it very often against things that aren't the World Over Heaven, because going up against things that aren't the World Over Heaven is a massacre. You just run circles around everything. I'm of the opinion that if this stand released by itself in the Heaven update, people would think it was crazy, and they would be right. It is crazy, but because something even crazier released alongside it, people are like, oh, that thing sucks. Now, I have some expert knowledge for you when it comes to game balance. When something is ludicrously broken, the answer is not to buff up the other things to the level of the ludicrously broken thing. One outlier is not a good idea to set as the mainstay for balance, and the World Over Heaven should not be that baseline. There's zero reason that we should be buffing Made in Heaven to the level of the World Over Heaven. This stand is already a serious pain in the ass to fight, and nigh unwinnable against if you don't have the right stands to counter it. It's already in a pretty good spot as it is, So if we take a look at what people want to buff it, they want number 1, time stop resistance, which considering how fast you go would mean that the second someone time stops, you would be 3 miles away from them, so time stop would be completely worthless against it. Or 2, a damage increase, which means that instead of having to spend 15 minutes picking at your opponent from a distance and running circles around them, you would have to spend 5 minutes circling them and picking at them with chip damage. You'd get the same result, it would just be in a shorter amount of time. The thing is, Made in Heaven should not be able to get up in your face and scrap with these other stands, especially without its speed things active. It can right now, which is the funny part, but nobody's doing it seemingly. People see the low damage on its moves and they go, well, it sucks, and just write it off, when they don't understand that you can't get hit, so it doesn't matter how little damage you do if you don't take any damage yourself. It's a war of attrition, and you win by default. I also see the argument all the time, which is, you can just block against Made in Heaven and you'll win. And to those people, I'm honestly really confused. Yes, you can block the knives, but if you do that, then you get hit by infinite speed. If you block Speed Slice, then you get block broken, and you get comboed for about 50 damage if you're using Haman for free. So the only move that you can block is Heaven's Judgment, a move that has a massive hitbox. So yeah, you should be able to block this move, because it's ginormous, and if you couldn't block it, then it would be another free damage move for Made in Heaven, and it doesn't need more of those considering it already has enough. But after watching through all of this, and I hope you watched through all of this, I'd love to hear if you still think that Made in Heaven needs buffs. And I swear to God, if I go into the comments and I see arguments based on things I already addressed in this video, I will not respond to your comment. I just won't. I can't respond to those, I'm sorry. I get them in every video. If you're going to leave things in the comments about arguments that you have for or against a stand, please actually watch the video, because I have been responding to those people and I always have to cite the video and I say, hey, I addressed that over in this section, so if you could please not bring up things that I've already responded to or directly refuted, I'd appreciate that. It would help me out a lot. Anyways, that's all I got for now, so have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you next time.